This is sort of a continuation from the previous Tengah video, because I'll be talking about like 506. But before that, if you're wondering why some services are express and the others aren't, okay, to be more specific in this context, why is 667 express, and why are all these services which are longer, I'm not sure if all of them are longer, but like, why are all of them not express? So to put it simply, 667, the load is like, the demand is like unidirectional. It is literally only AM peak or PM peak. People take the bus from Clementi or Dover to the CBD, and they return from CBD to Dover and Clementi. That's it. Whereas all the services on top, throughout the day, they have demand, like some form of demand. Because you would notice that like 161 and 168, especially 168, as soon as they leave Woodlands Interchange, they are packed to the brim. It's not just like in the morning or in the evening. No. Okay, maybe during peak hours there's like more demand and like the frequency is better, but like the whole concept is that it more or less always leaves Woodlands Interchange either full or like fully seated. And that's the reason why 161 and 168, they have enough demand throughout the day to sustain the service. Again, just explaining it simply, you can have 502 from like Boon Lay to Orchard and then back. But you realize the demand is only like unidirectional. And the same goes for like, can you see? 518 as well. From Pasir Ris, not really Pasir Ris, because like in Pasir Ris there's not really much demand except from Pasir Ris East, but more of like Tampines. It goes to Orchard and then it goes to Bayfront and then back. The demand is unidirectional. And the same goes for pretty much any, city direct bus service. Like I can say, 651, 653, that goes up to Hillview. I don't know why it's so hard to pronounce that. And then there is 657 as well. And then I'm just giving you examples. There's 667. And then there's also 671, 654. And then it's not a city direct, but the route looks like one, 513. And then you also have stuff like 665, 951E, as well as 656. So as you can see, these all share something in common: unidirectional load or demand. The only difference for 502 and 518 is that they run so-called their loop services, they run both directions, like throughout the day. There was also an express service named I think 512, which was from Hougang via CTE to Orchard and Somerset, and then Buyong Road, CTE back again. That is the only exception, but we're not really talking about 512 now. And then back to this. So for 161 and 168, you have people going from Woodlands to Hougang, Tampines, and Bedok. And at the same time, you also have people from Hougang, Sengkang. I forgot to say Sengkang just now. Hougang, Sengkang, Bedok, and Tampines back to Woodlands. And it's like throughout the day, there is demand in both directions. And this is kind of the same as 858. Okay, 858 is a bit more like temporal, as compared to like 161 and 168, but throughout the day there is demand. It's the same for 969. From Yishun to Tampines, there's always people that are traveling like in both directions at the same time. This is also the same for 985, even though 985 the demand isn't really that high or anything. Conceptually, 97 and 197 is exactly the same. For 97, it's more of like from Teluk Blangah, Alexandra, all the way to like NUH and Jurong East. And because even if you do not charge express fares, you still have enough demand to sustain the service, so you can get away with running standard fares. I kind of forgot to explain this, but basically, whenever there is like an express sector or like a oops, or like a non-stop sector, how would you put it? It's like when your bus is like traveling through it. I'm not talking about like AYE where there are like bus stops or anything. I'm talking about stuff like, you know, PIE, CTE, ECP, TPE. Okay, I do know that TPE and PIE they have bus stops, but let's just talk about the areas that do not have bus stops. So when your bus, I'm just gonna draw a bendy bus, why not? When your bus like travels through this so-called like dead sector, it incurs like dead mileage because there are no fare paying passengers boarding or alighting along these like dead sectors. Your bus doesn't earn money, and it loses money as it travels because you're expending fuel and or electricity. In the case of electric buses, it's expenditure and you're not gaining it back. And because of that, expressway sectors or non-stop sectors are like just full of dead mileage. And to counteract this dead mileage, people would resort, not people, I mean like public transport operators, they would resort to charging express fares, like each person pays more in order to like offset this kind of offset this expenditure that you get from whilst traversing the dead sector. And I know it sounds bad. I'm not saying that expressway buses or long distance services should not exist. They have to exist. I'm only saying this to explain why expressway services, their fare recovery rate tends to be lower. And I've mentioned this before, all the city direct bus services, even though they only run like a minimum of 2 trips during AM and 2 trips during PM because you cannot cut the first and last buses as per policy, even though they run so few trips per day, the reason why their fare box recovery rate is so low is because they have a lot of dead sectors, even for 667, which considerably has less. Even from like, let's start counting from Keppel Road because that's like the start of the non-stop sector all the way till Buona Vista flyover, like around there. So even that distance is alone to like, you know, make the fare recovery rate not a coefficient of 1. It's always below 1. If it's above 1, it means it gains money, like you're earning. And then there is also a reason why 190, 972, and M, even though they I mean sort of have like unidirectional load, it's not really unidirectional throughout the day, but it's like the reason why they can charge trunk fares is because I'll tell you why. Outside of 982E, which is only a thing during peak hours, like if you're going to CBD, I know 190 doesn't go to like, Anson Road, Shenton Way, those areas, but conceptually, 190 is the only bus that goes from Choa Chu Kang all the way to Stevens and Orchard. Let's just discount Chinatown and Clarke Quay for now because this is the more important part. Okay, there's Bukit Panjang as well. So 190 is like the fastest option from Choa Chu Kang, Bukit Panjang, Stevens, and Orchard because it's direct. And that's the reason why 190, even after like the downtown line or anything, okay, maybe the demand has like dropped a little bit, but that's because people are heading to areas that are along downtown line, but not Orchard or like Stevens, not downtown line Stevens station, but like, you know, the private estates. Stevens, Scott's, Orchard, Somerset, Dhoby Ghaut, these areas. Okay, I should put Dhoby Ghaut over here. Because it's direct and there is no other option, no other fast and reliable option for these people to get from Choa Chu Kang to Orchard, Somerset, Dhoby Ghaut without incurring like lots of unnecessary transfers. 190 is direct. That's the reason why 190 can survive even without charging express fares. And the express sector is only from like Whitley to Bukit Panjang Road, block 223 and 270. It's not like incredibly long or anything. So that's the reason why 190 survives. And then there is also 972 and M. 972 and M, you have to realize, respectively for Segar, Fajar, Bangkit, Petir Road, 972 is their literal lifeline. They can only rely on 972 to get out of Bukit Panjang because 920, 922, and 976, they only bring you to like Bukit Panjang, and in the case of 976, it brings you to Choa Chu Kang. If you want to get out of like out of Segar, out of Bukit Panjang as a whole, you have to take 972 because that's the only option you have. And that's the reason why 972 generates enough demand to sustain it even without the need to convert it to like express fares. So it's Bukit Panjang to Ring Road, and then again it's the same thing, it loops. And then for 972M, it goes to Petir instead, and then it also connects Newton and Orchard, like as an added bonus. So because 972 and 972M, they are those areas like literal lifeline, that's the reason why they get so much demand. Okay, 972M gets lesser, that's the reason why the frequency is not as good, but conceptually the reason why they get so much demand is because like they are just direct and they're reliable, and downtown line doesn't even touch like Orchard, Somerset, Dhoby Ghaut. And then you also need 972M, you also need 972 to even be able to like intercept say 960 if you're going towards Little India. That's also a really good route to take, and I think many people do that commute as well, like from if you're coming from like Little India, Rocher, or Bugis. And okay, in the case of Bugis, let's say you really don't want to take downtown line, because I understand no one really wants to squeeze in a crowded train. You want a seat, you would take 960 and then you would change 972. But 972M, sorry. Wait, did I say that right? Okay, actually both, because they intercept each other at Whitley Road. So basically this is how good like this area's like bus network is, and that's the reason why it stays even despite MRT lines opening. And then for 972M, you can access 966. So regardless, if you want to access 960 or 966, if you are inside Bukit Panjang Ring Road area, basically Senja, Jelapang, Segar, Fajar, Bangkit, you know these areas. If you even want to access these services, you have to take 972 or 972M to even be able to access it in the first place. Okay, technically Pending Road, they also have 976. But yeah, you get the idea. So now on to today's main topic. I know I spent like 15 minutes yapping about like express fare and trunk fare, but I want you guys to be able to like understand the concepts, to be able to grasp everything, and to be able to explain it to other people after you've watched this video. I just want you to be able to like conceptually grasp everything basically. So let's move on to 506. So just like 502 and 518 when it was first introduced by SBS Transit, they were expressed. Actually, was it SBS or Transit? I cannot remember, but they were expressed simply because of the reason that like they want to be able to offset all the dead sectors. So historically, that's the reason why 506 is expressed. And I'm gonna say this again, 506 rationalization has got nothing to do with downtown line. I will say this again and again and again until you guys get it. It has nothing to do with MRT at all. So, and it's not part of like whatever DTL rationalization. No, it's a separate amendment. Okay, so the thing with 506 is that the reason why it's still expressed now, and I kind of disagree with it, OTA and stuff, on time adherence. The reason why I disagree with it is because the express sector is only from like Bukit Batok, East Avenue 3, Burgundy area, all the way till like, I'm just gonna say St. Andrews as a general area, or maybe Trellis. So 506 currently is expressed to be able to offset all the dead mileage in this region. But enough of the talk regarding like dead mileage. So this is something that's not new. I've already said this like many times. So instead of coming from like Jurong East like this, I actually suggested to extend, not really extend, but like cut off the Jurong East sector and send it to Tengah. I'll just say Tengah as a general area via Bukit Batok West Avenue 6, then Avenue 8, then West Avenue 3, Central Avenue 3, and then you would just follow this area. And then I'm also considering it to call the CJC bus stops as well. I made a mistake in the previous video. 506 does not call CJC, but I just want, because 985 doesn't really go Tengah, I just want them to have an additional option to touch CJC. And then go inside Toa Payoh, and then so on and so forth. So my whole idea for this 506 is that instead of going through the St. Andrews Slip Road, you go PIE, you exit Jalan Eunos, Bedok Reservoir Road. This is where all the residents are living in. Kaki Bukit is more of like industrial side. And then there is like Kaki Bukit Industrial Park C, the bus stops. The reason why I want 506 to touch this bus stop pair is because you have loads of bus services like 15 and especially 58. 58 is super important. It allows Pasir Ris West to be able to go to like Kaki Bukit and different places, and then from Kaki Bukit you can take this 506 to access like the west of Singapore. That's the reason why I really want the 506 to have a connection with 58 regardless of what bus stop it is. And I'm not saying Serangoon, don't get me wrong. Nobody's gonna go up and then down and then just to go up again Pasir Ris West. No. Okay, wait, 15, 58, and then there's like 87. What else is there? Okay, there's 59 over here as well. There's like service 5 as well. And then there's service 60, 228 and stuff. So from Park C onwards, this is where the so-called magic begins. I will amend 506, Bedok North Road Extension, Temasek Poly. This is Tampines Avenue 10, Tampines Avenue 1. This is key. Tampines Avenue 4, 5, and then from Avenue 5, I'll send it up Avenue 6 to reach Tampines North. So even within the local sectors, I'm giving Tampines North an option to access Temasek Poly without like relying on 298 or stuff. I don't know. But like I'm giving the local sectors a connection, and I'm also like giving a new purpose to this service. Okay, so in general, I would say you link Tengah and Bukit Batok, west and east, the Burgundy side, to CJC, to Toa Payoh, and then you also link it to Kaki Bukit, which allows you to have a quick transfer to bus 58 if you're going to IKEA Tampines or Pasir Ris West, or even Pasir Ris itself. You also have 15 and stuff. And then the main point of this 506 is to become a school bus for Temasek Poly, be it whether you're coming from the west of Singapore, meaning Tengah and Bukit Batok, or whether you're coming from Tampines North. And now here the dilemma comes in. Do you charge this service trunk fares or do you charge it express? Now, it all depends on the demand. If your demand isn't so high, you charge express fares and you limit the operating hours. So you don't have to end at like, 11 p.m. or anything. You can just end the bus service at like between 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. or something along those lines. But if this version of 506 ever becomes like super successful, like 966 change 23, which makes up most of 23's demand to like uh Temasek Poly, you charge trunk fares. If you get a lot of people taking the bus service, you can charge trunk fares and it will offset any form of dead mileage the bus would occur on the dead sectors, meaning PIE. So regretfully, I still didn't really explain this properly in the previous video, but basically if you're coming from Woodlands and Marsiling, you have 966, and then there's like Bukit Panjang as well. You have 966, you transfer at Jalan Koyam Air at PIE. Sorry if my pronunciation is off, but this is 966, and then this is 23. So this sort of like makes up the bulk of the demand towards Temasek Poly. I almost said Tampines at Temasek Poly. And because many people rely on this route, I also want to give Tengah and Bukit Batok West, Central, and East near the Burgundy area. I want to give them an additional option of 506 that pretty much it, the purpose of this service is almost the same, except that it doesn't exit at Bedok North Road. It goes Kaki Bukit, and then it goes on here. And Kaki Bukit has a lot of transfer options, so that's the reason why. And it's also because 985, it serves CJC, but again, I've explained just now, 985 goes from Choa Chu Kang, a bit of Bukit Gombak, and Bukit Batok Central and East. It doesn't touch this version of 506. What am I saying? Okay. 985 serves Choa Chu Kang, Bukit Gombak, and Bukit Batok Central and East, but 506 serves a different catchment, this version of it. It serves Tengah, Bukit Batok West, Central and East as well, and instead of Jalan Jurong Kecil, it goes onto the expressway from East Avenue 3, Burgundy, around there. So it's like conceptually it's sort of based on 966 and 23, this version of 506, except that you do not even have to transfer. Once you hit Burgundy, you're gonna go PIE, then you call at CJC, which is highly recommended by me because CJC needs another option. And then you will go Toa Payoh, Kaki Bukit, and then you would hit Temasek Poly. And this is kind of why I suggested charging trunk fares instead of express fares if there's like a lot of people using it. Not just a school bus service, but just as a method to get from like the east to west or west to east. And then you also combine it with like 58 or 15, it'll become a really good bus service. So unfortunately, the IRL 506, okay, St. Andrews, is just plugged at Bidadari right now, as in the ITH. But it's not too late, because even if you convert this route to trunk like the IRL route, you can still sustain it. You call outside Bidadari ITH, Bidadari Park Drive, you go Bartley Road East, and then you can still access Temasek Poly from there. So not all is lost. You can still do this if there is like demand for it. Because when I see people saying that, 506, it should be extended to Hougang, it should be extended to Buangkok, it should be extended to Sengkang, or like Punggol and Punggol Coast, I'm like, you guys don't even know the reason why 506 was even put here in the first place. You guys are like, I want to send it up northeast because I think west to northeast needs like a link. I'm like, if you want to send it up northeast, you don't even go via St. Andrews. You go via like Thompson Road, Upper Thompson Road, or Marymount. You go to the places whereby there's like less congestion. You don't just send 506 up just because it's like along the same line as NEL. That's not how it works. And I don't know why so many people are like saying stuff like that simply because they see, oh my god, there's an express bus at Serangoon. And then they go on to like talk a whole load of nonsense and stuff like that. But to end off, I hope that you get it that conceptually shifting 506 to Tengah and then from Toa Payoh letting it go PIE Kaki Bukit, Temasek Poly, which is the main catchment, as well as Tampines North. It's like I'm not only thinking within the towns itself, I'm thinking about the potential of 506 to actually become an east to west link and a real one, not some, you know, OTA nonsense or what. No, just a simple trunk service with EWT. I don't know what that means, but like EWT is like the counterpart to OTA. Okay, forget it. Basically, trunk service from east to west. I know I might sound contradictory when I say like Tengah doesn't so-called doesn't deserve long bus services except to like Punggol or whatever or Yishun or Punggol or what. I know it sounds contradictory, but again, I just want y'all to know that when you design a long bus route like this, you need to think of its purpose and you don't just design it for the sake of designing it. You need to know small scale, large scale, trunk fare, express fare, and all these sorts of things. You need to know where your main catchment is, and in this case, it's Temasek Poly. And when you create this kind of like direct bus service, you need to be able to justify it using examples like 966 and 23. And you don't just say, oh, I want this route to serve here, connect here. That's not the way to explain it.